Let's start with family law. Question I get all the time is where parents are divorced or separated, which school district is responsible for the child? And typically, it is the place where the child sleeps on school nights, Sunday night through Thursday night. That's typically where the school district will have responsibility, from Sunday night to Thursday night. If it's 3 and 2, it's going to typically be where the child spends the majority of those nights. And many times, families have to think that process out very carefully, because school districts, especially school districts that surround poorer school districts, are very vigilant about this now. They have people out there looking. If they suspect that a kid is coming to school in their district that doesn't live in the district, they will pursue it. And we've seen them charge people criminally, sue them civilly. So it is not, once upon a time there was a lot of that going on. I'd say when I first got involved in education law 20 years ago, school districts were not terribly vigilant about that, about people not residing in their district coming and using their services. With tight budgets, with some programs that aren't so good in some other districts, the ones that are doing it well don't want to be paying for kids who don't live there. So, and oftentimes we'll see clients say, well, you know, what if I have an address there? Address doesn't do it. It's where the kid goes to sleep during the school week. Supreme Court decision is Thane, T-H-E-N-E. So that's really very important. And another thing that kind of goes along those same lines is, well, how about if I live with my grandmother in another district, and I'll pay her room and board, and then the child can go in the district that I like. The grandmother has to sign an affidavit with the school district saying that they are providing the service gratis. In other words, they can't be paid to take care of the child in the district. So you can't send your child to live with grandma or aunt or uncle and pay them to do that. And I've seen some school districts investigate those issues and pursue them. Less common than the kid who's being dropped off and lives in one district is being dropped off in another. But again, the grandmother has to sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury that the child is living there and they're not accepting any remuneration of any kind to live in that district. So the residency issue has become much bigger, and it's something to certainly be cautious about, and never ever take a cavalier approach with a client about where the child's going to stay. What if the parents have a dispute about the program, if it's a special needs child? And we see this with some regularity tangentially, where the parents are fighting about either the program the kid's going to get in the public school. And so often, one parent says, I don't want the kid labeled. I don't want the kid having a special ed program. And the other parent said, the kid has needs. We need to have the child be identified, have an individualized education plan, and move forward. If they cannot agree, the school district should request a special education due process hearing where the state would send in a hearing officer to decide whether the child should or should not have special ed programming. Another dispute that comes up is if one parent wants the child to go to a private special ed school and the other parent doesn't, and you have the battle of who is going to fight about it, or who's going to pay for it. Now that's really a family law issue more than a special ed issue, but one of the things that we can do in special ed cases from time to time is get the school district ordered to pay for the private placement. Sometimes they're very expensive placements. We have placements that are over $100,000 a year, especially for kids with severe emotional disturbance. So there's certainly an opportunity there to not only fight with one another between the parents, but also to try to get the district to participate at some level, even if it's partial reimbursement, for a private school placement. Instruction in non-traditional placements. And this is something that, again, I think most family law lawyers don't think about that much when a kid is in some kind of an alternative setting. For example, if the kid's in a hospital for a long time, the school district in which the hospital is located has an obligation to provide instruction at that hospital. In fact, the special ed law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, expressly says that special education, and it lists the various places where it occurs. And one of those places is hospitals. So, for children who have extended hospital stays, there is an obligation on the part of the district in which the hospital is located to provide that instruction. If a child is homebound because of a medical or emotional issue, the district has an obligation to provide services to that child in the home if necessary. Juvenile detention facilities, when a child's in juvenile detention, their special ed program is not supposed to stop. The school district in which it is located, it has an obligation to provide the special ed services. Oftentimes they contract with the local intermediate unit, and the intermediate unit provides the services in the jail. But one way or the other, the child has to continue to have those services. And finally, dependency programs, programs where kids go because they're identified as dependent. The special ed, the obligation to provide services, it follows the child. Wherever the child is located, if the child has special needs, there's an obligation to provide those services.